Gita chapter 5 text 16 Jnanenu tat ajnanam yesham nashitamatmana tesham adityavat jnanam prakasheti tatparam. Jnanena by knowledge too, but that ajnanam nescience yesham whose nashitam is destroyed atmana of the living entity tesham there adityavat like the rising sun. Jnanam knowledge prakasheti discloses tat param Krishna consciousness. Translation: when, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nescience is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. Purport: those who have forgotten Krishna must certainly be bewildered, but those who are in Krishna consciousness are not bewildered at all. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarvam Jnana Plavenaiva Jnanagni Sarva Karmani and Nahi Jnanena Sadrisham. Knowledge is always highly esteemed. And what is that knowledge? Perfect knowledge is achieved when one surrenders unto Krishna, as is said in the 7th chapter, 19th verse. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan ma prapadyate. After passing through many births, when one perfect in knowledge surrenders unto Krishna, or when one attains Krishna consciousness, then everything is revealed to him, as everything is revealed by the sun in the daytime. The living entity is bewildered in so many ways. For instance, when he unceremoniously thinks himself God, he actually falls into the last snare of nescience. If a living entity is God, then how can he become bewildered by nescience? Does God become bewildered by nescience? If so, then nescience or Satan is greater than God. Real knowledge can be obtained when from a person who is in perfect Krishna consciousness. Therefore, one has to seek out such a bona fide spiritual master and under him learn what Krishna consciousness is. For Krishna consciousness will certainly drive away all nescience, as the sun drives away darkness. Even though a person may be full knowledge that he is not his body but is transcendental to the body, he still may not be able to discriminate between the soul and the super soul. However, he can know everything well if he cares to take shelter of the perfect bona fide Krishna conscious spiritual master. One can know God and one's relationship with God only when one actually meets a representative of God. A representative of God never claims that he is God, although he is paid all the respect ordinarily paid to God because he has knowledge of God. One has to learn the distinction between God and the living entity. Lord Sri Krishna therefore stated in the 2nd chapter, 2.12, that every living being is individual and that the Lord also is individual. They were all individuals in the past, they are individuals at present, and they will continue to be individuals in the future, even after liberation. At night we see everything as one in the darkness, but in day when the sun is up, we see everything in its real identity. Identity with the individuality in spiritual life is real knowledge. Text 17. Tad buddhayastad atmanas tannishtastat parayana gachanti apunara vrittim jnana nirduta kalmasha. Tad buddhaya, those whose intelligence is always in the Supreme. Tad atmana, those whose minds are always in the Supreme. Tat nishtha, those whose faith is only meant for the Supreme. Tat parayana, who have completely taken shelter of him. Gachanti, go apunar avrittim, to liberation. Jnana, by knowledge. Nirdhuta, cleansed. Kalmasha, misgivings. Translation: when one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. The supreme transcendental truth is Lord Krishna. The whole Bhagavad Gita centers around the declaration that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is a version of all the Vedic literature. Paratattva means supreme reality, who is understood by the knowers of the Supreme as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the last word in the Absolute. There is nothing more than that. The Lord says, Matta Parataram Nanyat Kinchit Asti Dhananjaya. Impersonal Brahman is also supported by Krishna. Brahmano hi pratishtha. Therefore, in all ways, Krishna is the supreme reality. One whose mind, intelligence, faith, and refuge are always in Krishna, or in other words, one who is fully in Krishna consciousness, is undoubtedly washed clean of all misgivings and is in perfect knowledge in everything concerning transcendence. A Krishna conscious person can thoroughly understand that there is duality, simultaneous and identity and individuality in Krishna, and equipped with such transcendental knowledge, one can make steady progress on the path of liberation. Text 18. Vidya Vinay Sampanne Brahmani Gavihastini Shuni Chaiva Swapakecha Pandita Samadarshana. Vidya with education, Vinaya and gentleness, Sampanne fully equipped, Brahmane in the Brahmana, Gavi in the cow, Hastini in the elephant, Shuni in the dog, Cha and Eva certainly, Shwapake in the dog eater, the outcast, Cha respectively, Pandita those who are wise, Samadarshana who see with equal vision. Translation: The humble sages, by the virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater outcast. Purport: A Krishna conscious person does not make any distinction between species or caste. The Brahmana and the outcast may be different from the social point of view, or a dog or a cow and an elephant may be different from the point of view of species. But these differences of body are meaningless from the viewpoint of a learned transcendentalist. This is due to their relationship to the Supreme, for the Supreme Lord, by his plenary portion as Paramatma, is present in everyone's heart. Such an understanding of the Supreme is real knowledge. As far as the bodies are concerned in different castes or different species of life, the Lord is equally kind to everyone because he treats every living being as friend, yet maintains himself as Paramatma, regardless of the circumstances of the living entities. The Lord as Paramatma is present in both in the outcast and in the Brahmana, although the body of a Brahmana and that of an outcast are not the same. The bodies are material productions of different modes of material nature, but the soul and the super soul within the body are of the same spiritual quality. The similarity in the quality of the soul and the super soul, however, does not make them equal in quantity, for the individual soul is present only in that particular body, whereas the Paramatma is present in each and every body. A Krishna conscious person has full knowledge of this, and therefore he is truly learned and has equal vision. The similar characteristics of the soul and the super soul are that they are both conscious, eternal, and blissful. But the difference is that the individual soul is conscious within the limited jurisdiction of the body, whereas the super soul is conscious of all bodies. The super soul is present in all bodies without distinction. Text 19. Ihaiva tayarjata sargo yesham samye sthitam mana nirdosham hi samam brahma tasmad brahmanite sthita. Iha in this life, Eva certainly, Tai by them, Jita conquered, Sarga birth and death, Yesham, whose Samye in equanimity, Sthitam, situated, Mana mind, Nirdosham flawless, he certainly, Samam in equanimity, Brahma like the Supreme, Tasma, therefore, Brahmani the Supreme. They, Sthita are situated. Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman. Purport: Equanimity of mind, as mentioned above, is a sign of self-realization. Those who have actually attained to such a state should be considered to have conquered material conditions, specifically birth and death. As long as one identifies with this body, he is considered a conditioned soul. But as soon as he is elevated to the stage of equanimity through realization of self, he is liberated from conditional life. In other words, he is no longer subject to take birth in the material world, but can enter into the spiritual sky after his death. The Lord is flawless because he is without attraction or hatred. Similarly, when a living entity is without attraction or hatred, he also becomes flawless and eligible to enter into the spiritual sky. Such persons are to be considered already liberated, and their symptoms are described below. Text 20. Na prahishet priyam prapya nodvijit prapya cha priyam sthira buddhir asammodo brahmavid brahmani sthita. Na never prahishet rejoices, priyam the pleasant, prapya achieving, na does not, udvijit become agitated, prapya obtaining, cha also apriyam the unpleasant. Sthira buddhi self-intelligent, asammoda unbewildered, brahmavid one who knows the Supreme perfectly, brahmani the transcendence, sthita situated. Translation: A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something unpleasant nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, who knows the science of God, is already situated in transcendence. Purport: The symptoms of self-realized person are given herein. The first symptom is that he is not illusioned by false identification of the body with his true self. He knows perfectly well that he is not his body but is a fragmental portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is therefore not joyful in achieving something, nor does he lament in losing anything, which is related to his body. Thus, this steadiness of the mind is called sthira buddhi or self-intelligence. He is therefore never bewildered by mistaking the gross body or for the soul, nor does he accept the body as a permanent and disregard the existence of the soul. This knowledge elevates him to the station of knowing the complete science of the absolute truth, namely Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. He thus knows his constitutional position perfectly well without falsely trying to become one with the Supreme in all respects. This is called Brahman realization or self realization. Such steady consciousness is called Krishna consciousness.